Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage. We take a look at games, chat about the game news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today, I'm going to rant about the Switch 2. So, my wife and I, we skipped the Switch 1 because we figured the Switch 2 was going to be better. And so we were actually waiting to purchase it and to buy it, and then we saw the prices. Oh my word. I mean, I was pretty excited for the for the Direct itself. You know, that was pretty exciting. I was excited for the games. I was excited for the launch lineup. And then, yeah, we started getting the prices. We started seeing the nickel and diming between everything, including like party chat, including the GameCube backwards compatibility list, you know, that they're going to continue to expand past their 3 games. We started seeing the price of the Joy-Cons, the console itself. And then the big thing was the video games, on top of finding out the difference between card keys and game cards. Yeah, as a physical copy. Yeah, so like we're going to dig into some of this. We're going to look into tariffs too, but man, this is crazy. And I really want to highlight like the value that you can actually get with the Xbox, because the value that you're getting with Switch 2, it feels like it's totally changed at this point. They're not focused on the family. They're not focused on a affordable console. They want $450 at this point. And just coming out today, looks like the pre-orders are going to be delayed because the price might actually go up because of tariffs. What? Well, let's look at that right now, actually. Let's see. It's in here somewhere. Don't need that. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so Japan is right here. This is what the tariffs used to be, 2 to 5%, depending on what it is. We're going up to 24. 24%. Clicked on something by accident. But yeah, can you believe it? 24%. That's freaking insane. So it's like, okay, what would that cost? Well, $450 times 0.24, we're looking at an extra $108. We're looking at basically $560. And they might even price it more than that because, you know, the bundles that they have with Mario Kart World. $600? Man, like this is getting ridiculous. There's also the baseline tariff too, which was originally, you know, 1.5% basically, going up to a baseline of 10. Now, a lot of people say that, physical, you know, game copies are going to go up. Well, a lot of them are actually made in Mexico. They were at 25% for Mexico. Now they're exempt. Canada, exempt. It's because the presidents have worked deals out. And they've dealt with their stuff. And so we don't have to deal with it. But Japan, that hasn't happened yet. And I'm sticking this just to gaming, but man, physical copies shouldn't necessarily go up, but I'm sure some companies will be like, oh, wink, wink, tariffs. And so, yeah, if their physical copies are basically made in Mexico, and they claim tariffs, that's BS. Know that here first. But let's look at the actual value proposition. So, Microsoft Series S versus the Nintendo Switch. This is Versus, the website. It's actually kind of cool. You can compare a lot of different stuff, which is great. And kind of gives you a generic breakdown. But this is a 1 terabyte version, which the 1 terabyte version you can actually pick up for $350 at Walmart right now. It's $100 less than, quote, what the price is actually going to be for the Switch 2. But when we look at this, performance-wise is a little better. General info is all right, but the file size is already a heck of a lot better. I will say, though, that the file size, of course, for games on the Switch is going to be, of course, smaller. But let's take a look at some of these file sizes. Mario Kart World is going to be 23 gigs. Now, Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be 10. File size roughly for Borderlands 4 for the Switch is going to be 14. That's kind of an estimate, but we can probably say the safe bet is going to be 15 to 25 gigs per game. So you'll maybe be able to get a max of 10 on there because you still have the operating system you have to account for of your 256 gigs for your Switch 2. And then it's like, okay, well, what about expandable memory? Well, you have to have an express card because the regulars aren't going to work. So all your Twitch stuff or all your Switch stuff isn't going to work. But yeah, let's say you want to double, quote unquote, your capacity. And of course, the Nintendo version is going to be more expensive than this. We're going from like $60 for just a regular Express card. We're probably going to be looking at like 75, 80, maybe even $100, depending on how they want to price this, and claim OP tariffs. Which is just so nice. But yeah, this is the Series S. Again, you can get this one. This is the 1 terabyte apparently on Amazon for $260 right now. If you want to get like an official one from like Walmart or Target or something like that, I think it's around $350. But yeah, right now Amazon you can get one for around $260, probably $280. That's really cheap, and you have the better performance because you can have 1440p at 120 frames, and you still have ray tracing. Which why these file sizes are going to be so big is because the ray tracing that's going to be implemented into the Switch games. This is crazy. Okay, what about Microsoft? What about the Series X here? We're looking at $450 with a disk drive compared to $450 for the Switch 2. That's pretty insane. And then here's a look at the performance and everything else. Apparently the controllers are better. They're not cheaper though. Right now Walmart's having a flash sale, which happens fairly often, and other companies do this too with Xbox controllers for $45, $50. Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 are going to be $90, which that might go up because of tariffs. So we'll have to see. But yeah, this is getting wild. And it's like the value is crazy here. You have your ray tracing, you have your 4K. The games run actually pretty good. In some cases, for some games like Space Marine 2, the Series X can actually run the game better than the PlayStation 5 Pro can. PlayStation 5s, this is the same deal. You can pick them up for $500 or $600, depending on exactly where you want to go. But if you want to go that route, you can do that too. That's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that here. Yeah, the tariffs are going to be insane. Now, what about the games? Well, we're looking. This is insane. Switch 2, we're looking at base price now being $70, like Donkey Kong Bonanza. With Mario Kart World, the digital version is going to be $80. The physical is going to be $90. So the big first-party games, like also Legend of Zelda probably, are going to be $80 to $90, depending on what you want to buy. And they're simply doing this not because of tariffs, not because there's ray tracing involved. They're doing it just because you is what they're doing, which is crazy. On Xbox, you can just buy Game Pass Ultimate for $240 per year. Now, that does sound like a good chunk of money, but you don't have to pay that price. You can go to G2A, that's just who I use, also CD Keys. You can go to their websites and take a look at what the prices are for Game Pass Ultimate for 12 months. Make sure it's a global, of course. Make sure that, it's not like a non-stackable version and all of that stuff. Make sure you also look at your reviews and your feedback and recent purchases. But look at this. I like Miss World Game to buy from, but $92 right now. $92 for Game Pass Ultimate right now. For over 500 games on the console, over 400 games on the PC, you get both libraries. You get your streaming on top of that. You can take your entire Game Pass and library-owned games basically with you as they're continuing to expand that service. You can take it all with you wherever you go, on any phone, on any tablet, on a handheld, on your console, whatever, your PC, your laptop. It all works. It works great. You can get a backbone if you want for basically $100 and be able to have your little controls right there. And that's more mobile than the Switch. These they're going to be huge. The screen itself is going to be 8 inches in diameter. And then you got the Joy-Cons on either side of that. It's massive. So yeah, my wife and I taking a look at this, it's like, oh my word. This is nuts. The sheer cost, it's like, I mean, our plan originally was to get the Switch 2, skip the Switch 1, be able to play all of the Switch 1 games and the Switch 2 games. That's what we did with the Wii and the Wii U. We have a Wii U. I'm looking at it right here. We can play all the Wii games that we want, and we can play all the Wii U games that we want. And we already bought them all before they like discontinued the stores and stuff. So yeah, the idea was the same plan, but man, the sheer cost of stuff that we wanted to buy, which was the console, 2 Joy-Con pairs, Nintendo Online plus expansion pass or whatever that is, and then Worlds, and then 2 other third-party games. We were looking at $800. $800. And what totally blows my mind is like it looks like they're trying to compete with other handhelds in the market. They're trying to compete with the other game consoles in the market at an insane price point. Like, in my opinion, Nintendo's totally changed their focus. They're not focused on family anymore. They're not focused on a value proposition for gaming, which they have been forever. I mean, if we take a look at the launch price of the Switch 1, it was $300. You're telling me that we're adding an additional 50% to just buy the Switch 2? 1 generation later? That's insane. And then we're possibly looking at the tariffs as well, making it around $550, $600. Guys, the consoles that they're going to sell this year are already in country. They didn't pay tariffs. They didn't pay the increase of tariffs on those. Those should still be, in my opinion, $450. And now they're going to you. Simply because, tariffs. What do you think the next cost is going to be? Holy mother burr. It's ridiculous. Guys, this is a scam. This is ridiculous. It really pisses me off. Some of their practices of Nintendo I don't like, which I haven't bought some of their most recent systems because of that, but oh my word, man. This is crazy. I never usually buy them at launch. I'm okay with waiting. This is going to be my first launch one that I was actually going to purchase. But man, the Switch 2, this is insane. This is insane. And then, too, I want to add this as well. For those of you that are wondering about Joy-Con 2 stick drift, it will have Hall effect controllers, but that doesn't fix the stick drift problem. I'm going to have a description link below to my own video explaining why. Because I fix controllers, and I can guarantee you Hall effects do not fix stick drift. Every single controller that has Hall effects still has stick drift, and unless you have the software to calibrate it, to recalibrate it, you're still going to have that problem. And I guarantee you that the Joy-Con 2s are going to have the same issue for $90 a pair. You guys are going to get literally over the coals. So anyway, that's my rant. You can always like, sub, all that jazz. You can find me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also find me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. You can also, see what else I have for playlists over there. Because I do gaming news, I do rants like this, I do initial looks and reviews when I can. And then I have playthroughs as well. I always have a solo playthrough, and I always have a multiplayer playthrough. But yeah, this is insane. They are out of their mind. Now, I'm sure some people are still going to purchase, but right now the sentiment isn't very good. Let's take a look at the stock price of Nintendo. Oh, it's down again today. Wow. So let's take a look. This is the direct right here. Look at that drop. I measured it earlier. It was 12.8%. 12.8% drop in their stock price. Came up a little bit, and then it's continued to go down ever since. This is painful. This is painful to watch. And I'm sure it's going to sell pretty well. I'm sure the scalpers are going to go out and purchase what they can. Nintendo is mitigating some of that for their own website, but people can still buy a copy, still buy a unit at Walmart, Fred Meyer, Target, GameStop. They can still do those. But man, this is going to and then possibly a readjustment because of tariffs. Now looking at $550, $600. I don't know, guys. We're totally skipping it. We're just going to have our Wii U. We're going to still play Super Smash. We're still going to play Mario Kart 8. We're still going to play Mario Party. We're going to enjoy the games that we have. With that, folks, we'll see you guys on the next one.